Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story TV and the Her Story podcast. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
My name is Melissa Koons. I'm based in Littleton, Colorado, United States. I'm 33 years old, and I just did a funeral home startup. I know it's a little unusual for a young woman, especially someone whose family is not in the funeral business, to do a funeral home startup. And that's also not a startup most people do. But it was really meaningful to me, and I have such a unique experience and perspective in regards to death and grief that I wanted to start this business to help people with healing. And I know you don't think of going to a funeral home for healing, but to me, that seemed the most logical place for processing grief. So my story and how I got here is kind of wild and crazy, but that's how life goes. I am a certified relationship coach, a certified death doula, an award-winning author, a psychic medium, a tarot reader, and a businesswoman. So starting a funeral home seemed like the most logical way to take all of these aspects of myself and bring them into one place where I can really help make a difference in people's lives. And how I got here is not at all what I expected. I learned a long time ago that life doesn't go according to plan. My childhood dreams were to be a writer and a teacher, which I did achieve. I became an award-winning poet at 14 when I won the Editor's Choice Award for a poem that I submitted to an anthology. By 16, I was an internationally published award-winning poet. And by 23, I'd published my first novel, which also won the Editor's Choice Award. During that time, I also got my degree in English and secondary education. And I taught students, middle and high school students with social, emotional, and behavioral challenges. And it was very rewarding work to be doing. I had gone into teaching because of my love of literature, and I wanted to share that love with students. But as I started working with these young people and helping them regulate their emotions and give them tools on how to handle situations and come out stronger and making healthier choices, I found that that was what was most meaningful to me. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to continue teaching. At the time, I was in my second abusive relationship. The teaching atmosphere was very toxic to me, as you might imagine, because I was constantly being triggered from the abuse I was enduring outside of work, as well as my clinical depression and generalized anxiety disorder were not in a place that they could be fostered in a healthy way. And a lot of my friend group at the time were very toxic and controlling. And it made me feel very condensed to where I couldn't support the kids the way that I was wanting, because what I was trying to teach them, I didn't have for myself. I didn't have that emotional stability. I didn't have those healthy coping mechanisms. And I certainly didn't have the healthy relationships and dynamics that I was trying to share with them and teach them how to find and identify. So I left. I made a huge move. I moved back down closer to be with my family and toward friends who truly supported me and saw who I was. And I made changes where I left teaching altogether, at least in that way. I think I still teach, but in different ways, not in a classroom. And I got to work on me because my suicidal thoughts had come back. I had had them before when I was 16. And I knew from that experience and surviving that ideology that this is a temporary feeling for a temporary problem. But when you feel so pressed down, it doesn't seem like there's any way out. And that's when I learned to find the silver lining in everything. And when you find that silver lining, that gives you hope. That's one good thing. And then if you can find one good thing, you can find another good thing. And those good things build you out of that place and kind of lead you away so that you can create something better. Because I do believe that every experience in life is something that we can learn from and grow from. And when you look at it as a lesson, that's then something that I can share or you can share with somebody else. And that made all of those experiences worthwhile to me, where I wouldn't trade them, because now I've learned something that I can go on and teach and share and help somebody through their situation, because I've been there too. And I've been through it. And so when I left teaching and moved away from where I was, from my school, I started actually my first company with a business partner, which was a publishing company. And I learned so much from that experience. I wouldn't trade any of it for the world. We did so many incredible things. That's where I won my third writing award, was with a prompt books that we co-wrote together. And we went to seminars and conventions and learned so many amazing things. Ultimately, it wasn't the professional path either of us really wanted. And it wasn't fulfilling for either of us emotionally. So in March 2020, we decided to close our business, our company. And it ended up being great timing because the pandemic hit a few weeks later. And at that time, without any of the distractions, I really got to sit and know myself and learn how much grief I'd really been carrying. And this was the same time that I decided to be open about my spirituality and offer tarot readings publicly for the first time in my life, because I'd always been so terrified of the backlash and the witch hunts and what would people say, because even though psychic mediums run in my family and my family has been supportive of it, even though they don't always understand, not everybody else has been. I've definitely been called crazy. And so that was something that I really pushed down and hid away because I didn't want to be labeled as other. And this gave me an opportunity because I saw so many people needing help, needing guidance, needing perspective. And I knew that was something that I could provide for them. So when I offered doing tarot readings, I was met with such love and acceptance and so many requests. It was beautiful and heartwarming. And I knew that this is what I was meant to be doing. And that kind of also it gave me the confidence to continue my healing journey, because, okay, here was this piece that I'd been carrying around with me, this fear of being ostracized that now didn't hold any water, that now I could release and know that I'm on my right path. So I started working on healing the other aspects of grief that I'd been carrying with me, some since childhood. I'd been bullied a good part of my childhood and adolescence, because what you see is who I've always been, a little weird, a little off, a little wild and quirky. And that's not something that a lot of young people know how to handle or deal with. And I certainly didn't know how to respond to them at the time. And so that was something that I had to learn. And through my healing, process that, forgive it, release it, and not blame myself anymore. And with the pandemic, I had a whole lot of time to start working on this because everything that I had distracted myself with prior, I used to work 3 to 5 jobs pre-pandemic, was now shut down and I couldn't do any of it. So all the distractions were gone. And I just had to focus on my grief and realize how it wasn't serving me, how it was holding me back, how it was preventing me from actually moving forward and receiving the things that I wanted to receive in my life. So I had to do some deep diving and letting things go and working through things. And it was very challenging. And that's what led me to get my certification as a relationship coach and become an ordained minister and become a certified death doula or grief coach, because these were all things that I knew I can help somebody else through their healing journey, through this hardship, because having a light in that dark is so meaningful. And I want to be that light for somebody else to show them how to turn their own light on and get through it. And that's what led me to open my funeral home, where I could really focus on helping people bring up their grief in this safe space and start talking about it. And through talking about it, work on healing. And that was what is most meaningful to me. There's so much that's deep rooted, and grief is so prevalent in aspects that aren't just related to death. And I know that's a hard conversation to have and it's uncomfortable, but death is the one thing in our life that is consistent and is guaranteed. And knowing that phases of our life die too allows us to really appreciate them and live more fully. And that's what I learned, is a lot of the grief that I'd been harboring was from this loss of things that had ended, relationships, people, places, jobs, things that I had wanted to last, but naturally can't. And I got to work processing and healing through that.
Wow. Now, the timing of you creating this business is quite fortuitous. Did COVID have any impact on you making that decision to go down this route? Because there were so many people dying in 2020.
There was so many people dying in 2020. And that's a really interesting question. It definitely played a factor, because there was the awareness of, I remember reading stories of how funeral homes and crematoriums couldn't actually, they had such a backlog because of how many people were dying and they couldn't process everything. And it made me aware that this is a shortage that we have as a service, because it's not something that everybody wants to go into or can. And so it definitely brought it into a different realm of awareness that I hadn't thought of previously.
It's fascinating, because it sounds to me like everything you had gone through in your life to get to that point had actually prepared you for this work.
Absolutely.
So as a grief doula, you're working with sadness almost every single day. What do you do to protect yourself from not absorbing the energy of sadness that you work around every day?
That's a great question. And it does get hard, because I do also feel that sadness from people. But in grief is love. And that's what I hold on to, is that while there's sadness, why they're feeling that sadness is because there was something meaningful to them. There was something that they loved that was important. And that's the important part to hold on to. And then the rest of it is just a way of feeling that love now that it's on the other side. And so I look at it as being an honor to help them process through this so that they can hold on to that love, but release the pain. And for myself, I know that it's not my burden to carry, and that I am here to be a guide for them, but not shepherd it, not take it on with me. That all I can do is hold space, provide tools, and provide support. And that it's really up to that individual to do the work to heal and move through it.
Now, do you think that all of your work in the spirit realm has also supported you in understanding that although we die on the physical level, our spirit, the essence of life lives on forever? Do you think that has helped you in any way and is helping your clients to understand what life and death really means?
Absolutely. That's definitely helped me, because it's having that mediumship and that work with the spirit realm gives me a different perspective and relationship with death and crossing over and spirit and the soul that most people don't get to have. And so I think it allows me to provide comfort because of my experiences with the spirit realm and with my understanding of how, the physical body may cease to be, but the soul lives on, and how that energy transfers and what that kind of means. And then being able to provide that comfort and understanding to my clients and the people that I work with, regardless whether or not they believe the same thing. They don't have to, but it's something that does provide at least peace if that's something that they're seeking.
Now, your business supports social impact projects. Tell us about the social impact projects you support. What made you make a choice to support that particular project, and why it's important for entrepreneurs and people in business to give back?
Yeah, so my business supports the LGBTQ plus community. I don't have an organization specifically right now that I support, but I provide a safe space for the LGBTQ plus community to come, because that community specifically is very near and dear to my heart and endures so much grief societally and in many of their families. And the stories that my friends have told me of their hardships and what they've endured is really important, because or very meaningful to me. And it's created that this mission was very important to me to hold that space, because I want every individual to know that their partner should have the authority and control in the event of their death that they desire them to have, that they should be gendered correctly in their memorial and on their death certificate, and that they are honored and their life is honored accordingly. And that's really important to me. And I believe that every entrepreneur and business, small business or large business, it is our duty to give back to society, to support our communities, because that's why we exist. If our communities are supporting us, we should absolutely support them. And I think our existence should be to make our society and our community better and add to it, and not just be something that profits off of it, but be something that is a staple place there.
It's really important for us to have social impact as entrepreneurs. And really, when you give back, it always comes back to you as well. You get those referrals, you get people who've had a positive experience at your hands, talking about you and advocating for you as well.
Absolutely.
So now, if I could take you a few steps back to the past, to that young woman in 2020 who made all these major moves. You made some pretty bold and major moves. You changed career, you changed your location, you made so many changes. If there's a young person who's listening to this interview right now, who's on the cusp of doing the same thing, a little bit frightened, not sure what to do, and you could give them 3 nuggets of wisdom based on what you've learned, what would your advice be?
I would say 3 nuggets of wisdom. 1, it's absolutely terrifying, and that's okay. The fear makes you think about it and strategize better. So use that as something to make your business stronger. Don't let it deter you. I was 100% scared and terrified and thinking, what the heck am I doing? But that made me do more research. That made me crunch more numbers. That made me look up more options and alternatives and structure up backups and safety plans and find out everything I needed to set myself up for success. So I harnessed that fear in a positive way, in a positive outlet, and I didn't let it stop me or deter me or make me go, oh, it's just not worth doing, because I knew that wasn't the truth. That's not okay. It was worth doing. And that fear I just used to propel me to do it better and make sure that I crossed all my T's and dotted all my I's. So if any fear came up, it was like, okay, what would I do in the event of this? What if? What do I do? So if you're feeling scared, use that to your benefit to help you structure better. The second pearl of wisdom that I would give you is that if it makes your heart sing, then it's worth doing. Yes, you can play it safe and you can just go with the day-to-day, but there's so much more you're missing, because I think there's nothing better than helping people, than reaching out, than making a difference. And that can look so many different ways. And if it makes your heart sing and gives back to you, then that's what you're meant to be doing, because then it's reciprocal. What you're putting out, you're getting back in that fulfillment. I know I had a lot of people ask me, you're going to be holding a lot of space and helping people, and isn't that going to drain you? And yes, to a degree, but because it's such rewarding work for me, it's work worth doing. And I'm not as drained as someone else who's not meant to be doing this might be. So if it makes your heart sing, go for it, because that's work worth doing. And the third nugget of wisdom I'd give is that you don't know everything, and that's okay. That's actually one of the most beautiful things in the world, is to keep learning and keep growing, because I promise you, 2 years ago, me had no idea this is what I would be doing, or this is how my life would work out, or how all of my experiences would lead me to being successful in this way. And so it's just an adventure, and keep learning and keep growing. And when you can accept that you don't know everything and that you haven't mastered everything, that actually presents more opportunities.
That's absolutely beautiful. So my last question for you is now going to take you into the future. We're going to pretend that time is an illusion and it doesn't exist, and you could teleport into the 100-year-old you, this wise woman who's led you through life to that point. And you're sitting on your porch, surrounded by your children, your grandchildren, your dogs, your cats, whatever it is that's going to be with you at that time. And if you could go and have a conversation with this wise woman, based on how you're living your life right now, what would you say to her?
That's a good question. If I could go to that wise woman, the only thing I can hear myself saying is everything worth it all? And I just know immediately the answer is yes, that it's going to be a great adventure, and the adventure is what's worth having.
Yeah, we are guided by the future self. You know, we are born with all of the answers to all of the issues and problems we have in life. So I like to go into meditation when I'm trying to figure things out. And I'll ask my future self, what is the next step? You know, where do I go from here? And we have the answers. So if there's anybody out there who is sitting on the fence, you feel you need to change your life and do something else, trust yourself. Like Melissa said, you won't know everything, but you will learn along the way. And if it doesn't scare you, it's actually not worth doing. It's the things that scare us, because everything you want is on the other side of fear, right?
Absolutely.
So take that bold step and make that move. So, Melissa, you offer a lot of services that help other people who are grieving, who are on a soul-searching mission, trying to figure things out. Where is the best place for people to find you?
Best place to find me, there's probably two. You can find me on social media, Instagram at spirit.guide.funerary. And then my website would be the best possible way, www.spiritguidefunerary.com.
Okay, so let me share your website at the bottom of the screen. Anybody out there is looking for some spiritual guidance, some help, contact Melissa. I'm pretty sure you will find a safe haven just to be heard. Sometimes we just need to find somebody who's a distance from us to figure things out. So, Melissa, thank you for your work. It sounds to me that God's Spirit led you to this work at this time when there is a huge need and a lot of people who are grieving. Not many are called to do the work that you do. So I really commend you for stepping into this space and holding space for so many people who need it right now.
Thank you so much.
And thank you to everybody who tuned in today. The Her Story Circle is attracting some phenomenal women from all walks of life, making a difference in small and big ways. So come back again tomorrow when I interview yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And Melissa, thank you again for this interview.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making